Hi everyone, I'm Angie, partner and marketing VP at Growing, a women-founded and women-led creative agency. Today I'm thrilled to welcome you to another edition of our newsletter, Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. As I always say, networking has played a key role in my career, and I have found through many conversations that it is an area that many women still don't feel confident in or need a little push to be encouraged to explore further. At Growing, we're motivated to inspire and empower women to feel more confident in networking, and we believe that by sharing stories and experiences, we can encourage them to connect and grow together. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of this initiative. I'm confident that your story will motivate many women to embrace networking with more confidence. Please let us know more about you. Can you introduce yourself to our community?
Hi, Angie. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. My name is Emily Perez. I am in the beauty industry. I've been a corporate professional for close to almost 20 years on the side of research and development. I am also the Executive Director of Latinas in Beauty, which is a network for Latinas in the beauty industry. It's an honor to be here today speaking about a topic that I think it's also near and dear to me.
I'm so happy that you're here because I reached out to Emily after I saw Latinas in Beauty, and I think it's a community that is so exciting, so amazing, and I follow them specifically on LinkedIn. But we're gonna be discovering more about it throughout this episode, so stay tuned because it's gonna be exciting and amazing. When did you start networking, and how has your perspective evolved from when you first started to now?
Angie, how much time do you have? Because I think my journey into networking has one that has evolved over my career. I was born in Brazil. I moved to the US when I was 10. So I am a first generation corporate professional. So I navigated those early years without the blueprint, right? Without having mentors or the representation to guide me in how to take up space. So networking at the beginning of my career was non-existent, I will say. I recall and I remember vividly, walking into a lot of rooms and staying on the outskirts and kind of, on the perimeter and kind of just watching. Because believe it or not, for people that know me, don't believe me when I say this, but growing up, I was an introvert. It's something that I worked on myself as I navigated corporate to become a little bit more outspoken, to take up that space. So it's a journey I went on. I now consider myself, I guess the term is ambivert, an extroverted introvert. Networking may seem to come easy to me. It's still something I work on. And it's something that I will say probably within the last 10 years, I've gotten a little bit more comfortable in doing. And I think it was just kind of changing the way I approached it, right? Because I think oftentimes when you walk in these spaces, especially if you're attending a networking event by yourself where you don't know anyone, it can be a little bit intimidating. And the approach that I've taken is to introduce myself to one person. So find someone that's in the room, whether, you've done your research before, like who's in the room, who you want to network with. But if you don't know anyone in the room, just the person that's standing next to you, just say hi, introduce yourself, and start a conversation, right? About how is your day? How's it going? And then it will build from there. That takes the stress out of the expectation of what this networking opportunity can be. And that approach has worked really well. And I still have to give myself like that pep talk before I walk into those rooms.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love how you said you talked about take up space.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can dive a little bit more into it because the rooms are there. Like the corporate rooms are there, the events are there, and someone is gonna be there doing the thing, right? Networking, meeting the people, getting their goals. And I think that if you want to get that goal, if you want to meet those mentors, if you want to understand the industry, even if you're starting in an industry, you have to take the space because if you don't do it, obviously nothing's gonna happen. And I think it's really important what you said about being the first in the corporate world. It happened to me as well. So I feel that connection. And obviously coming from a different background into something else. My journey was kind of different in the way that I started in corporate and then I joined my sister project, the agency, and I became a partner. So I ended up doing the entrepreneurial route, but I think it's pretty important to understand that you need to be in the space in order to get the goal, get the contacts, get the mentor. And thank you so much for sharing that in that perspective, because I think it's pretty valuable. And the next one is, what do you do to establish genuine and meaningful connections when you network?
So for me, I approach networking coming from that perspective of creating meaningful connections, right? And I think with what your intentions are when you're approaching these conversations, it will come off genuinely when you are having that one-on-one conversation with the individual on the other side, right? Especially like in person. And networking to me can be in different perspectives, right? It could be while you're in a room at an event and you're having one conversations, the individual in the room, but it could also be when you're trying to do, virtually has been, and the social media platforms like a LinkedIn has also become an opportunity where you can start an opportunity to network with individuals. And I see those from like two different perspectives, but for me is more, I want to learn more about the individual, learn where they are in their current journey, both personally and professionally, how I can be of support in any way, right? So I come from this perspective of service, of like, me and understanding what I bring to the table. How can I help you? And together, if there is that connection of like, oh my God, yes, I'm also interested in that. I am, sharing what you're passionate about, what you're doing, what your work is within your organization, right? If it's within an organization space, and like, how can you then together create this shared vision or mission or purpose to continue the conversation, right? So like, it's leaving little marks and little nuggets, little seeds with that individual so they can remember the conversation and you have like that comfort level, right? Because I think with every conversation you have, it is that human factor, right? Like if you connect with an individual, then you remember them and you see perhaps yourself in them and how you want to help and support and continue. So it's like, that's how I approach it. And that's how, meaningful connections is at the forefront to networking for me, right? I never approach a conversation of what's in it for me or like, what can I get from that individual, but more if there is, an opportunity where I need that individual to support me in what I'm doing. And I approach it more of, this is what I'm doing. Like, I know, I understand your background. I think that there's an opportunity, if you believe in what I'm doing, that you could support me, or is there anyone in your contacts that you can connect to support me? So it really, especially as the individual is higher up in the organization, it can kind of become transactional. So if you can just remove that a little bit from this, the conversation, I think just opens it up to create those meaningful connections.
Thank you so much, baby. That was amazing. And what's the most unexpected opportunity that has come from a networking event or connection?
I will say was probably the first one that I attended by myself. I'm a corporate professional. I work at L'Oreal USA. I am extremely passionate about supporting women in the workforce because for me as a Latina woman, it is important that we understand how to advocate for ourselves, how to take up those spaces. And being where I'm at today, I want to help the next generation get to where I'm at a little bit faster than it took me to get there. So by sharing my story, by having those things is very important to me. So I recall being at an event where they were starting their employee resource group out of the New York office. So I am based out of New Jersey. This was at the New York office. I went alone because it was something that I was extremely passionate about. It was still in the moment where I was going through that transition phase of becoming a little bit more attending these networking events. So there was a lot of pep talk. A lot of confidence, there was a lot of sweating going on, but I recall taking that approach of saying hi to one person. And I remember, I went, the event finished, there was a networking portion of it. I went to the bar, one drink just to have something on my hand. To keep myself busy, I introduced myself to this one individual. We said hi, we started a connection. He told me what he did in the organization. I shared what I did. But the story then goes that I ended up in an elevator with a chief diversity officer. And I did my elevator pitch to her on why I was the person to bring DEI to our location in New Jersey. I walk out of the elevator with her and she says, please contact Juan. He's my assistant. He'll put a meeting on my calendar. And the person I spoke to at that networking event was Juan. Oh my God. So I already had him in with Juan and say, hi. It was great meeting you at the networking event. I spoke with the chief diversity officer. She requested I reach out to you to put a meeting on the calendar. And like that to me was the most unexpected opportunity that came at a pivotal moment, right? Because I could have not had that introduction, right? I could have and just watched and not really, partaken in the networking or just left. But I think that that's where one conversation, you never know where it could lead you.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your introverted part of networking, because you set a goal for yourself of talking to someone, like one person, and it ended up being like, quote unquote, the right one. But
Yeah.
thank you for sharing, because it is important for the community to understand that when you're going to your first few events, you don't need to talk to everyone on the event. Just go out there, find someone, share your goals, your knowledge, or share something about your personal life that they can remember you by, and go from there. And you're gonna probably find either communities or specific events that you feel more comfortable in and you want to be part of them next month, for example. And maybe
Right.
you will find some events that are not necessarily for you, so you can decide on whether or not to go the next time. And I think being part of communities is really important, because networking is creating community, being part of a community. And I love to know about Latinas in Beauty, how it started, how it's going, and what are your plans for the future. It's one of my favorite communities, so please let us know and let's bring it to our audience as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, it's something that it's very, very passionate about. It is a purpose-driven organization. So the journey begins, 4 years ago, I think now going on 5. I had this calling to bring the opportunity to connect Latinas within the industry, right? So being myself a Latina in the beauty industry and seeing the impact, mentoring and sponsorship, and just really bringing that community together in a smaller scale, what I was having on those individuals, I went searching for a community that I believe was in existence, that was connecting all Latinas within the beauty industry already. And how can I be of service to them, of providing mentoring or workshops and being of service to them? Upon doing research, such of a community did not exist. So I went ahead and I started, it's been a journey, but it's been I'm very proud of. It started off as an Instagram page on a Sunday afternoon. I just put it into the universe, seeing if there was need for this community. And it was organically and through that Latina women across the US was gravitating towards it, because there was that need of creating community. And through that journey of meeting such phenomenal trailblazers that are in this industry, we were able to create opportunities for networking, for creating access to the network resources and capital funding, right? So really putting ourselves in these spaces, where then landed me at the end of last year to come together with Rita Arriagada. She is the founder of Valde Beauty. She's an industry veteran, along with Nadine Tapia, also an industry veteran in the industry that supports bringing brands to life. Relaunched Latinas in Beauty as a nonprofit. And we're elated to say that we launched with a pledge for equity, which calls on industry CEOs to commit to the advancement of Latina professionals. So it's corporate professionals, it is entrepreneurs, creatives, and artists. So we are taking everyone with us as we embark on this journey of building community. So we are officially a nonprofit. We have our membership digital platform that we launched at the beginning of this year. We're excited to say that we have a beautiful cohort that's coming together of all of these industry leaders to support one another through community, because I think even more important today is that value of community, and how can we share our resources, share our knowledge, share our insights to help everyone, while also opening doors, right? Because when we're talking about networking, right, Latinas as in general in the industry, we lack access to the network. A lot of us are not in those rooms. And for the ones that are in there, how do we open the doors for the other ones to come in? Because, I can talk for hours about the impact that Latinas have in this industry. And we need to unite, to come together to create those opportunities and to say, we are here and we do not only as consumers, right? I think we need to acknowledge that as consumers, we over-index across all beauty categories. So that means we're spending more dollars in beauty, than our counterparts. So I think that's an important factor. The data speaks volumes. But unfortunately, we're still underrepresented. Yes. So I think one part is making that acknowledgement. So from an advocacy standpoint, how can we come together to advocate for that and understand that power and change the narrative within the community to say, whoa, we need to support Latina owned. We need to advocate for parity, to have equity at the table. We are making these decisions. We're not at the table to make these decisions. Like, we are the consumer. Like, let's get our voices heard, but then also create community, right? Because it's so powerful and it's so impactful to see the magic that is coming together through sharing both virtually and those in-person opportunities to connect with individuals that have a shared experience. And
Yes.
it is creating those safe spaces for us to feel like we can be forthcoming with like our experience and share our stories and empower one another. Because I think at the end of the day, that's how we'll make that lasting impact.
No, thank you so much for sharing. And I love the community. Like Latinas in Beauty is an amazing community. Please follow them on LinkedIn. I'm gonna be obviously tagging the link here for you to take a look. And thank you so much for sharing that and for opening doors to the community and to the women that want to be part. I think we share that kind of purpose of helping others and with our knowledge and with your experience. Thank you so much for that. And go follow Latinas in Beauty. The next question is, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I would love to know how networking has impacted you in your career, especially early in your career.
I actually did a career change early in my life. Like I studied and then I became a marketer. Early in my engineering career, networking as soon as I graduated, I started being part of my life in terms of unexpected opportunities and great stories to tell. Because as soon as I graduated, like I studied oil and gas engineering, and now I'm a marketer. When I was invited to give a talk to high schoolers on an event, they were going to university, so they wanted advice on how to choose a career because sometimes mean that you're gonna have to spend the rest of your life working on that specifically. For me, it wasn't like that, but I realized that I chose it because I love to travel. I love to understand more cultures. I love to, have that sort of life. And as soon as I graduated, I applied to a trip sponsored by a society called the Society of Petroleum Engineers. And I won, and I went to Abu Dhabi. All expenses paid, thanks to me having the courage of applying to that opportunity. And after that, I applied to go with another association to Peru to present a project. So I worked on a project for 3 months and presented it. And then when I became a marketer, I also became a marketer thanks to networking because I first started building my mom and dad's businesses on Instagram, and they became really successful thanks to it. And my sister saw it and she said like, but you're already a marketer, so do you want to join the company? And when I joined, we were working like 8 years ago where with the network that she had, because she had lived in like 6 countries already. She would always study in different countries. For example, she went to Germany and studied German. So a lot of her friends were starting to build their brands, and she founded the agency and started helping them build their brands, right? But I wanted to work for bigger companies, like for the corporate world. So I started networking because I loved what they were doing at the time and I wanted people to see it. So I started posting on LinkedIn for the agency and I started reaching out to people. And the first clients that we closed were Electrolux and Novartis, and these were like huge companies. So that's how it started for me in engineering and also in marketing. But as you can see, networking can help you either change careers, fulfill your goals, even if those are not like getting a job, getting a new job. It's not only that, it's like you need to know what you want and network in order to get it. So these examples I think are pretty valuable because it's not only your next job position, it can be a lot of more stuff. So thank you for asking that.
I know. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. Our last question is, what advice would you give to women who are hesitant to engage in networking?
I think it's important, it's as we obviously as career driven individuals, you want to progress in your career. And I think it's important if you understand that it's not who you know, is who knows you. So yeah, right. So you have
What?
Yeah, you
That
have
was
to.
amazing.
Yeah, just a little gem, just some gems. But and keeping your head down and doing the work, it's great. But you have to understand that it's your responsibility to put yourself in those opportunities and to be at the forefront where you are meeting those individuals, so they know who you are, so they know you on a personal level, but also in addition to the work that you're doing. So when opportunities come up, you're top of mind to them, right? So they don't need anyone to speak on your behalf because they already know who you are. When you're hesitating, especially if you're thinking about the corporate space, if you're hesitating going to that, networking event, think about that. Think about networking from that perspective of getting individuals to know who you are, and be okay if you're, especially if you're uncomfortable doing it, acknowledge that it is scary. It is a stretch assignment for you. You are stretching yourself in that. Go in with, sweats, even if your voice is cracking, because you will only get better by doing more of it. And the more you put yourself in those situations, that's how you grow, and that's how you start being more comfortable in those spaces.
Wow, thank you so much, Emily. That was amazing. I love that advice. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible insights with us. It's truly inspiring to hear how networking has shaped your journey. To all of you listening, reading, or watching, another gem here. Your network is your net worth. So stay
Yeah.
tuned for more inspiring stories in our next edition of Women Who Network, Stories of Connection and Success. And if you want to be part or propose someone for this space, please email me to Angie@crying.com. Until next time, keep networking and growing. Bye bye.
Bye.